All right, let's just be honest with ourselves. Most of us are taught to really think through this healing journey, whether we're journaling our pain, we're talking it out, or even through meditation. But trauma doesn't just live in our minds, it actually lives in our bodies as well. The truth is, your body remembers everything and it knows every traumatic event you've been through. So think about the last time you flinched when maybe somebody came near you, or you even froze, even with whom your mind actually forgets. It might forget that actual memory that was tied to that stimulus, or why you flinched or you froze, because your mind is actually really good at rationalizing trauma. But here's the key: your body can't. Your body actually vibrates it. So that clenched jaw that you might be feeling right now, maybe if you're breathing shallow, have the shallow breath, or you freeze out when somebody comes too close to you, whether it's emotionally or physically, this isn't your body betraying you. This is actually your body sending that broadcasting signal. Again, it's vibrating that you've been through a trauma. This is traumatic and it wants to protect you. So today we are going to stop bypassing the body and we're going to actually start listening to what it is actually saying to us and how we can leverage that in our healing journey. Hello there, beautiful souls, and welcome back to another episode of A Mindful Monday, where we just stop the performance, right? We stop performative healing and we just start living. It's not just about release and getting to that next phase, but it's actually about resonance here. So I'm your host, I'm your girl, Arika Trimnell. I am also known as the Mindful Mistress, here to offer you just some soul deep insights to help us grow spiritually and emotionally and really navigate our path by breaking through our prism of limitations. Now, our prism is shaped by our life experience, and your life experience is definitely different than mine. So what works for me may not work for you, but we are all about all the different paths to healing here. So in this new era, I've really shifted from the just traditional healing dimension to a goal that really isn't about, again, that release, that recovery, but it's that resonance piece. So today we are going to talk about something that's often misunderstood, especially in spiritual circles: somatic healing, how your body actually stores trauma, and how vibration can actually help you release it. So this isn't just the fluff of, hey, yeah, go ahead and do a sound bath, or do some ecstatic dancing, or it's not a TikTok soundtrack by any means, or at least not a TikTok version of this, but the kind where your body actually can take that deep breath, that exhale that it's been needing to take for years because you've been holding your breath because of the trauma we've been through. So this is the kind where, maybe we are shaking our hands and our knees go soft and your body starts to remember, so we can actually release what is no longer serving us. So what we are going to dive into today is the why behind trauma. Like, why is it stored in our nervous system and not just our memory? We're going to talk about why thinking it through is really not enough, and it never actually was. That is, well, we'll get into that, but that's basically the Western medical model. And then, of course, I'm going to share a personal story with you with regards to trauma, and then give you some tips and tricks, right? It wouldn't be complete if I'm not giving you some sort of tools that you can leverage on your own time, or you can do it with me, to really help you reset your inner wisdom. So let's get into it, shall we? All right. So, how trauma gets trapped in the body. So, again, like I mentioned earlier, we were taught to think things through, and we were also taught to cope. We learn our coping styles from the people, the adults in our life, in our formative years, 0 to 5. So whether that's your parents, a guardian, an aunt, a grandmother, etc., we learn our coping skills from them. So they model and they mirror that. So for my parents out there, I want you to understand your kids are paying attention to everything you do. Now, I'm sure you already know that, but just think about that from your own standpoint of how you cope with situations. Your kids are watching that and they're going to be mirroring what you are modeling to them. So we might have heard as a child, just to get over it or to think positive thoughts, but no one really told us what to do when our body keeps bracing for that impact, right? When there's really nothing wrong per se, but our body again is bracing to freeze or bracing for that flight. Ah, I gotta go. So the truth is, trauma isn't just what happens to you. It is, and it's an actual physical response. It's actually and a chemical response too. And so what happens is that gets stuck inside of you because there were no safe ways to release the trauma at that time. So your body performed whatever coping style that you're used to for that particular situation. So your nervous system is a beautiful, brilliant what would we say? It's really like its own brain, to be honest with you. So it's not broken at all, but it really learned how to protect you. This could have been by going numb. This could have been by going quiet. This could have been by placating to somebody else's needs. This could have been you're going somewhere else, like entirely, whether that's in your mind or actually physically, right? That's the flight. So over time, this survival pattern gets wired and becomes your baseline. This could be why you feel like you're always on edge or you're always performing calm, but you're not actually calm. You're actually disconnected from your breath. You're disconnected from your rhythm. You're disconnected from your gut. You're disconnected from your body. You are not crazy. You are just over adaptive. Now, in some science circles, they may call this maladaptive, but we try here as much as we may to not lean on it's a good thing or a bad thing. Just it is what it is. And what's most importantly is that you have that awareness so that you can choose whether or not you want to continue these particular coping patterns or choose something different or hold on to it. I believe that all of us will make the best decision for ourselves in that moment, and awareness is key. So when we talk or when we're, we love to talk, but I was gonna say, when we talk about our trauma, we really start to intellectualize healing, if you will. And so to make it make sense and to name it and to frame it, trauma doesn't just live in the prefrontal cortex, this part here. This is where we do our critical thinking. There's a lot of things that go on. So when we are, some people say rational, right? When we're not crazy, when we're not off the rocker, off the plantation, you are using your prefrontal cortex for a lot of things. So trauma actually gets stored also in our fascia, in our nervous system. So your body's reflexes and rhythms they change because it gets stored in those areas. And that's why when we go to when we go to therapy or when we're reading books on trauma or we're doing the shadow work, it still feels like there's still something there. We're still stuck in this loop. Like we haven't quite gotten over whatever it is that, we released in, maybe in a full moon ceremony or something like that. And this is because your body doesn't feel safe. You have talked it through in your mind, but your mind's like, okay, that's great because we've done the prefrontal cortex work, but it's not really stored there. It's stored in other parts of our brain. So the healing, it hasn't really fully landed. So vibrational healing works because it helps your body move through trauma. It actually speaks the language of your body, that vibration, because again, your body is constantly vibrating the trauma that you have endured. So, we don't just ask people what happened to you. We ask, where is it still living in you? So think about that. Not what happened to you when you were younger, but where is it living in you? So what this does is a few parts. It encourages us to go within, right? Go within us and then search within our bodies to find out where is it living in us. And then it can help us move through that when we've identified where that particular trauma is still living in us because, right, we haven't fully removed it from our body. So to kind of double tap on that, I want to tell you, not too long ago, I was at a a yoga and healing arts festival and got Reiki done. And a few things that came up were some living trauma in my legs and in my knees. Now, this was on the right side of my body, so on the masculine side. So just to break that down just a little bit for those who don't know, when you experience some resistance, or a Reiki master or someone who's doing Reiki on you says that there's some resistance like in your legs are a representative of your ability to move forward. So if there's resistance there, that means that there's something that's preventing you from moving forward. Also, you can think of, your legs are what we use to walk. So you can, when you go and see somebody in the healing arts and they start talking about different areas of your body, every area is related to something in your life and what you're going through. So I talked about resistance in my leg and then it being on the right side of the body. So knowing the masculine side versus the feminine side and how that is playing in my life. And it was very much in alignment with what I was going through. Like, okay, well, what is blocking me from moving forward? And what am I moving forward to or wanting to move forward to? But again, this is an example of how trauma can live in our body and how beautiful healers like a Reiki master can help us identify that. Now, I certainly could have done the work myself, and I already knew that I had some issues in my right leg, to be honest and transparent. But just to show you that not only is it something that you're able to sense, but other people can sense that as well. So this, for me, this particular incident wasn't just something that impacted me, but it impacts those around me because that's what my body is vibrating. And when you're around people who are think about it, we are all like crystals. So if I'm vibrating this particular energy, those who are around me also get hit with that particular energy and it can impact them as well. That's why they say the 5 people that you hang around with the most, you end up being like them because we are literally vibrating with each other. And so I'm picking up your energy and dropping off some of mine and vice versa. So I just wanted to use that as a way to depict how there's actually, or what the practical application for this. So to bring it in with like the science, I love that science is finally catching up to ancient spirituality. Thank you, science. But my degree is in biology. So I love bringing in the science aspect and where science meets religion or ancient wisdom, if you will, or ancient traditions. And so for centuries, ancient traditions have known about vibrational awareness and that everything in this life is moving and has an energy attached to it. And that also is with the body. The body is our vibrational archive. I've said before in other videos, the body is like our personal library. Now, some of us haven't been into libraries in a very long time, where they can be dusty and old, but beautiful and magical and have a lot of history that we can learn from. And if you choose to learn from your own library, right, your body, you're able to leverage that in your own healing. But so let's break this down from the science aspect. When you experience trauma, your brain actually shifts into a survival mode. So you have the part of the brain, remember we talked about the prefrontal cortex for all your thinking. So we're not talking about that. But the amygdala, which is actually like underneath, is like our brainstem part. The amygdala, this is like your fear center. It goes on high alert. So typically, as we go and maneuver out through life, things, hit the prefrontal cortex, you're thinking about things, you make those rational decisions. But when you are in trauma, when you experience trauma, it automatically bypasses that. And this is for our own safety. So you've got the hippocampus, which normally, again, like it files memories, like a nice in the library, right? Oh gosh, what was it? The Dewey Decimal System. Oh my God, I can't believe I remember that. But anyways, like the Dewey Decimal System, it files things accordingly. The hippocampus actually starts to glitch when you're in this traumatic experience. So this part of your brain is also the BRCA. Another part of your brain is responsible for speech and language. So we've just talked about the fear part of your brain. We've talked about the part that stores things nice and neatly, part of your brain that's being affected. And then the BRCA area, which is speech and language, also gets affected. So this can go offline. This is the reason why so many of us, when we're talking about therapy, or even when we're doing some healing modalities that want us to talk through our trauma, we can't. Because again, if that's offline, we don't have words for the things that have impacted us. So in the middle of a trigger or a flashback, it could be really hard to even form words. So this is why trauma doesn't come to us as a linear story, because again, remember the hippocampus, which would file it nicely, is like, yeah, it starts, it starts glitching. So it actually starts showing up as fragments. It could be a smell, a sound, a body sensation, a sudden freeze. You don't remember trauma like you remember regular memories. We relive it in the body. So that is the difference. Whether it's through the tension, the avoidance, maybe when we shut down or we start placating. So again, this is why talk therapy can only take us so far. You got to involve other parts. So you've got to use vibrational therapy, or you've got to use EMDR, which is a form of vibrational therapy. You've got to utilize something that is also going to be a somatic that couples with that talk therapy. So it really helps us to understand the pattern, but the talking part, but it doesn't take us back to the place where we're able to reprogram safety within ourselves, because that lies in our bodies. So again, this is where that vibrational healing aspect comes in, because talk therapy really bypasses the body. And when you incorporate vibrational therapy, it helps you bypass the analytical mind, which wasn't online to begin with when the trauma went down. It goes straight to your body's actual frequency to deal with that. So another thing that I really love incorporating especially when it comes to trauma, is the polyvagal theory. And that shows us that the co-regulation. So think about your coping styles. To be able to regulate yourself is a vibrational tool. So things like humming, things like swaying, things like bidirectional movement, sound healing can be super supportive, and it really helps the brain move through that particular trauma. It meets it and helps you create a new wavelength. Again, how we talk about remembering our original song. Breath work helps regulate the heart, so you can get back into that. Oh gosh, I'm thinking your window of tolerance. Then that's where you can start reprogramming things from that space, not from a space of being hypo aroused or hyper aroused. Drumming, we think of like West African rituals, chanting that Buddhists bring in. These are all vibrational therapy tools that indigenous cultures and different ceremonies have to help you move through that particular trauma. When you can feel into it, when you can move it, when you can vibrate it out, you can release it without needing to actually name it, reframe it, because that's not necessary. It didn't really hit that part of the brain anyway. So somatics are a great tool that we can leverage for that. So I want to talk about a few tools that you can use if you realize this is you, or this is something you think maybe even a loved one could be struggling with. These are 5 simple but yet very powerful tools to let your body speak and release it without words, or when words don't really, I don't want to say don't matter, but they kind of don't. When words don't do it justice. So the first tip that I want to share with you is called a somatic sigh. So this is just breathing through your nose and exhaling with an audible sigh. It could be an and you might find that you do some of these things naturally. Again, this is your body looking to regulate itself. If you get into a situation and you notice yourself just sigh, again, it's your body already knows. We have this intelligence in us already. And what this does is it tells your vagus nerve that, hey, we are safe now. It's okay. This isn't like the last time when something traumatic happened to me, depending on whatever that stimuli. shake practice. That is something that is really good to do. It's just standing and shaking. It's as easy, as simple as it sounds. Shaking your arms, shaking your hands, shaking your body, like just letting it go. And what this does, again, we're talking about that vagus nerve. We're thinking about like polyvagal theory. And this just resets fight flight response like animals do after stress. Or if you ever seen, I've got a dog, you might have seen her in the back, she'll shake it off. Literally shaking it off helps. Now, to this point, to my parents out there, when you see your child throw a tantrum, and they are on the floor violently, what are they doing? They're technically shaking when they're on the floor violently. That is their body trying to work through whatever is going on. So think about that. If you were a child and you remember you throwing maybe some tantrums and shaking, and a parent saying, "Hey, don't do that," what they're saying is that's not appropriate, right? But in actuality, that's what actually helps our nervous system. That's what helps us regulate. Granted, I know it doesn't look pretty, especially when you're doing it in the middle of the grocery store and you're embarrassing your parents. But parents, I want you to know that that is actually super healthy, and for the child to be able to regulate in that way. Now, granted, there could be some other stuffs in there that are not we'll say, I don't want to say positive, that are not as helpful to your child, but definitely the shaking. And maybe you could encourage a different shaker, like, "Hey, let's dance and let's shake it out in the middle of the grocery store." I would totally do that with my child, but that's neither here nor there. Again, so the third thing that we could do is humming and swaying. So this is using the vibration that we have. We always, we have our voice. Placing your hand on your heart could do it, or just hum, and you sway from side to side. So this brings in that bilateral, which really helps, again, that vagus nervous system say, "Hey, it's time for a reset." So bringing in some bilateral, and then we've got the humming, which activates the vagus nervous system and creates this beautiful harmony in us that tells our body we need to reset and we are safe now. Of course, nature has its own beautiful harmony and vibration and can help you reset. So just taking off your shoes, going and grounding, or earthing, if you will, go hug a tree. That is a surefire way to, again, hit that reset button, making sure your body feels safe, and you can start programming some more coping styles that are better for you in the long term. Lastly, doing a sensory body journaling. So this is more than just journaling your thoughts. This is your body sensations. Waking up. Well, how do I feel? What does my body feel like right now? Where am I feeling it? And this isn't where we are going to judge our body. Just notice and you write it down. Anything, any tension, any texture, any temperature changes that you feel, like a cool leg, a warm foot. Writing all this down and using what you know about the body and what parts pertain to what, or getting a really cool resource to understand more about the different parts of the body to help you understand what your body is saying and what it's broadcasting. So, if you've ever been known to just try to hold things together, I want you to know that that is okay. We were taught that was the appropriate way to be. But I want you to know it is okay to feel. Feeling should not be foreign to us anymore. So even if you felt unsafe, it's okay to feel unsafe. Trust me, your body knows the way back home. It remembers how to cry. It remembers how to tremble, right? It remembers how to shake and hum and breathe. And all of these things are what can help us reset. And not just because somebody told us to do it. Again, remember I said, most of us naturally sigh, whether we're bored or bored is typically, could be we're triggered. We naturally sigh. Our body naturally does these things. It's just bringing into our awareness when we're actually triggered to do this so that we can reset and start programming in different responses, different ways to be. And the goal is for us to be free. So this week, I don't want you to think your way into healing. I want you to feel your way into healing if you can. Let your body lead and tell you what it needs next. Remember, It remembers every single thing. It is your library, and it's actually been waiting for you to listen and respond. As always, do things that help you attune to be whole. Thank you so much for listening to me. I hope this episode was helpful. Please like, share, subscribe, do all of the things. If you feel that this was be helpful for someone you know, feel free to send them this. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next week. Bye.